it was a quick turnaround for the film. Like I auditioned for it, got it, had to go to the Bay like pretty soon, so it was a kind of expedited process. But for me, really, I just was trying to get in touch with like the characteristics of Flacco that wasn't the cliches. You know how we view, you know, somebody we see like here in the streets without knowing the backstory, without knowing about Jay or you know anything that he went through. So I really just wanted to know who he was as a person emotionally and try and tap into that and you know bring like some type of sensitivity and vulnerability to a character that gets like classified as a villain or a demon so often. So you know, it was really just trying to be as truthful as possible. I know characters like that who are like beautiful, loving people, so I just wanted to like do them right and like show that they really exist, you know.
Okay, cool. Thanks. All right, so I guess we'll open up to questions now from the audience. Does anybody have any questions over here?
So you mentioned there not being a strong female voice. For example, there's no mother figures, and when we do see the grandmother, she does not speak. So can you speak on that?
Yeah, the question was about there's no strong female characters, and can we speak about that a little bit?
Yeah, so we're like dealing with a lens of a 15-year-old boy steeped in hyper-masculinity, so it's like there's inherently this male gaze that's gonna happen. But for me, the mother is actually a character because I actually chose not to show her for a reason. But his character is defined in like the first 2 minutes right through voiceover of my mom says this, my mom says that, my mom saves all my birthday money. So for me, she's just a very loving mom who can't be there, which is the effect of a lot of people I know, family that had of single, parent households where it's the high cost of being poor, right? If you can't afford a daycare or a nanny, what are you gonna do? And you gotta make money, put food on the table. Exponentially, that kid is more likely, to go talk to Uncle Marlon when he needs advice. And so I guess it feels like Peanuts or like a John Hughes thing, but really, I mean, it's bigger than that, I think, to me. And I also, actively try to get the direction to all the girls that are in the movie. It was important to me that they at least, I basically said, you're gonna act like the boys. And I think we forget how, I didn't want any of them to be submissive. So, Cameron gets in the face with a basketball, and immediately, so she was from East Oakland, like, she was the real deal. I was like, look, well, too, we should also forget, like, women can be violent too. And I think that, so I was like, she's saying, he gets hit in the face with a basketball, and she's saying, you won't hit him, like the amount of times I've heard someone say that, I could be rich, about $1, but, so she's antagonizing violence, right? And then I said, as soon as Cameron's an asshole by nature, and I was like, I told her, not him, I was like, he's gonna call you a bitch, and as soon as he does, call him the bitch back. No matter what, you're gonna have the last word. And so, what you saw was completely improv. They just went at it.
That was the realest scene.
Yeah, so he was from, Jay Hall's from Hunters Point, she was from East Oakland. Yeah. But, and I think the other choice I think I made that I was hopefully aware of, either as small as it is that Gorda, Brandon's first encounter with a girl, she's really the one with power. He has no idea what he's doing, and she's aware of that. And all these kids, well, maybe not your character, but Albert, they're talking about girls the way you're supposed to be talking about girls. Clearly, they've never been with anyone, but it's like, yeah, the comic books are my fault. Like they have no idea, And for me, that was just another way to like show like, whoa, these like weird norms that we like grow up with.
Sorry.
The only thing else I wanted to say was I showed this last week in Harlem at the Magic Johnson Theater, and the craziest thing happened. I'm learning more about this film, but a girl came up to me after the screening was like, well, what do you have to say to all the women who are going through the same thing? And I was like, I don't not sure. I don't know how. I was like very confused. And she was like, I'm from Southside Chicago. I got jumped and I jumped girls. And she was like, if you flipped every gender in this movie, it's the same movie to me. And I was like, oh shit. Maybe this culture of violence is now permeated to, it's just everywhere. So anyway, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say for Rico and Flacco's character, y'all could talk a little bit about that too. How that impacted your character.
Why what?
How that impacted your characters as well. The lack of female voices in your lives, like strong female characters in your lives.
The lack of.
You guys have.
I mean, are you talking about personally in the
Yeah.
film?
No, in the film.
Yeah. Okay.
In the film. Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to filmmaking, honestly, I feel like you have to concentrate on the objective of the films. Like, what we were focusing on wasn't the absence of females. You know, it was more about hyper-masculinity in the story that we told. So I can't personally say I really thought much about it, but I definitely see what even just what he mentioned about the, dual, perspective of the girl being from Chicago. Like, I get it.
Yeah,
So,
that's crazy.
but, yeah.
Yeah, same thing there. I didn't really think about it that much. Wow.
You want the mic?
Oh, no, right here. Yeah, I mean, pretty much the same thing as what he said.
Yes. Back.
I wanted to piggyback off of that question, and because you mentioned your depiction of masculinity a lot in the film, and I just wanted to ask you, like, many of the women in the film are referred to as bitches, and they're depicted as sex objects, and they're disposable. Like, you could replace any of them with any other woman, and like it wouldn't matter. I wanted to ask you, what is our responsibility as male filmmakers towards their depiction of women in our movies?
Good question.
I mean, I think it's the hope was, we would have the dialogue, right? Because I was aware, being a film student, getting into movies in the first place, I was aware of, I want to tell stories that aren't explored, disenfranchised and marginalized, and women are, especially women of color, are the most, disenfranchised. So it was really hard grappling with, like, I have to stay true as like a screenwriter as well, to stay true to the authenticity of the character and the world in that situation. But being aware of it, I was at the same time, that's why the small things I could do, like, don't be submissive and act like a boy. Like, everyone's gonna act like boys in this movie, quote unquote, whatever that idea is. So, don't get me wrong, my next film might be the opposite. It's just, thematically, that's what it was like the crux of the movie was about, and I think we have a huge responsibility though. And part of this, if it makes people angry, makes me angry too. And at least you can react and do something about that.
Yeah, to piggyback off what he's saying, I just finished a show and I worked with like 7 or 8 female directors. The entire show was directed by women. So I feel like as actors or, directors, writers, our careers or what we do is like, it's an entire conversation. So you can't look at one film. One film just leads to another conversation. Then there's another conversation, another conversation. So I feel like there's a responsibility for female filmmakers to step up and collaborate with men filmmakers and really put their voice into the world, because we don't know everything you guys go through unless you share. So I feel like as we start to progress and get more opportunity and people like Ava DuVernay and et cetera have like empower the world, we connect and bring that all together, and then we're starting to make stories that reflect more realistic perspective. Big responsibility, but we all gotta go.
Okay. I wanted to know how, can everyone hear me? I wanted to know how you found an actor to play Jay and what it was like to work with him, because he's like super young, obviously, and it was hard for me to watch. So how do you find someone who can be in it?
Yeah, Mike. like 6 going on 20. So he was amazing. He's actually, these guys, the 3 main kids, and Kofi and Marshall Ali were the only, trained or like actors that came through the casting, and everyone else. I casted, I went to every youth group, even street teams, and I actually found Jay because the actor Trev, who's in the Shady Motel, he was actually teaching a youth improv class in a backyard in West Oakland. So I cast him because I had friends of friends, and he had done theater, and he was becoming a mentor. He'd like been through that life and was like all about it. So we connected. I think like, I'm teaching this summer program for like kids in my neighborhood. So I showed up and I just sat through the class and I just watched kids improv on stage with him. And I saw him and I waited and was like, hey, do you want to be in a movie? That's how it worked. And I think the younger you are, kids, for the authenticity of like that age, he's gonna do what he's gonna do. Like the direction is not, talking to Kofi or Marshall Ali about letting you go into way deeper, discussions about moment to moment choices. But for kids, and even in Jah, who was 13 when we shot, the conversations that we're having were very, it was just like quieter, louder. So, yeah.
I guess piggybacking off of the casting question, I'm curious how your casting went for Brandon. I mean, thinking of the whole like masculine or whatever. I mean, obviously he had like the long curly hair and like sort of feminine features. So I'm curious if that was something that you had in mind ahead of time, or if during the casting you found him and was like, this is the kid.
It was always the intent that he's actually, I think, described Rose as like a prepubescent kid, because it was important that he lacked qualities that Rico and Albert had, but saw them as like Albert's, even though they crack as many fat jokes as they do, he's still very confident. And Chris's characters, obviously like Chris's character, but surrounding Brandon, who's kind of teetering between like not yet a man and still that way, it worked out once we had the chemistry read, because these guys, you were 17 when we shot, and Jah was 13, so there's already this dynamic of like younger brother, older brother, and him like really wanting to impress them, and not really being like a teenager yet. Like his first kiss is on camera.
You got a dog.
He lied about it for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I just found this out recently.
He just told us.
Now that he's a foot taller and like has 8, like he's doing fine now.
Hi. So I heard about this movie because my brother is really obsessed with sneakers.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious, like, if you had any connection with like this whole underground like sneakerhead community and how hardcore they are, and like if you work with Nike at all to like deal with this shit. I don't know. I'm just really curious about. Yeah. So I'm just curious how you dealt with like this whole like subculture, if at all.
Yeah, that was probably the one thing like I had to study actually, because I was not. Everything else I knew, like I was, I knew, but the one thing I definitely spent a lot of time was getting to know and read articles and like literally figuring out what shoe it should be was like an undertaking. Just reading lists of top sneakers on sneakerheads like blogs. So I did a lot of homework for the sneakerhead community, and found a lot of interesting things.
What was like the most interesting thing that you didn't know before you started? Sorry, I'm recording for my brother.
Oh, hey, what's up? Let's do the good weeks. September 9th. The most interesting thing I discovered, I've talked to some people, I think the most important thing I discovered, especially in addressing sneaker violence, was how dangerous it is to be for the media and reporters to be dismissive of sneaker violence. When you start listening to the news, you're like, wow, they are being so condescending right now about a culture they know nothing about, in the sense that they're like, and over a pair of sneakers, blah, 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 blah. Really, it's like, no, this is a very important social signifier, and the Jordan is the nexus of hip-hop and fashion. It means way more, it has emotional weight. The same way on Wall Street you could have a Rolex, same way in Beverly Hills is what Cardi would have, or Tiffany's bracelet, whatever have you, and the reporter's standing there in like a $1,000 suit, right? So it's dangerous to just dismiss kids that buy. It's almost like blaming the victim, where it's like, if you can save money and afford a shoe, people, sneakerheads I've talked to are like, you can spend $1,000 on a piece of painting, I'll put it in my room and no one will ever see it, or I could go spend $600 on a pair of exclusive things, Jordans or whatever. I can wear them, you can see my art, or I could put it on a wall and it's still art. So it's the eye of the beholder, right? And it's Brandon's flaw that he as a consumer is just equated this commodity with his life. And that's the dark side of materialism, when it's just egocentric and you're no longer, doing something, being motivated in a natural way.
Ready?
So I have a question for Flacco's or Kofi. Hi. So I was wondering about at the end, when you face your son, seeing that you was your character thinking that, or was your character thinking like, oh, I shouldn't continue this violence for my son? Because he does say sorry at the end. So were we?
I think that was definitely a turning point in the car when I was asking like, where you learned that song, and I realized like, you watching me, and then that end scene is where it actually like goes down, and again there was that choice. I feel like the whole film was all about choices, and I had a choice to continue the madness or end it. And I saw him looking at me, I take that look, and it's like, what the fuck, what am I doing, so it was just like, my bad, and that's how he knows how to say sorry, my bad.
And probably you, because I don't think that was it. It was a silent off of it. And then you said that, and it was like, and they said cut it out the movie.
Thank you.
No problem.
Hi, I had a question for Justin. Basically, I guess a huge problem a bunch of independent filmmakers or students come up with is financing. And so, I know you said you were really successful with your short, but before you met everybody at UTA, or did they approach you like from your short, or was it based off of this script? And then my bigger question is that, how did you go about financing this film? And do you have any advice for up and coming filmmakers that probably don't have as much success coming out of festivals with a good short, and they're trying to, struggle to get money together for their own films?
My short, it's called Naughty. You can go get it. It won the Student Academy Award, and it premiered at Berlin. And so, like, right off of that, I was approached by lots of people, managers and agents, and that's a whole other game. But and I had the script ready to go. That was the most important part of the equation. If I did not have a feature script ready to go, they would have been like, cool, call me when you have an idea. Because they're not just going to hand you a script that's like ready to be directed. But the financing, I would say, was mostly done. I did a lot of lunches, a lot of schmoozing. And go meet this person, go meet that person. There's about like 20 different EPs that put in like X amount. And it was really the hard work of David Kaplan who like made it all happen. But with that said, I thought coming out of film school, one of my mentors was like, just tell yourself in 5 years, no matter what, you're going to direct a feature. So I got it. And coming out of film school, I was like, I'm just going to make this like $100,000 thing. We're going to like, kickstart it and just make it with friends for free. And then it's like, there's an astronaut and stunts and minors and a 6-year-old. And like, oh, this is not going to be a $100,000 movie. But I waited it out. I met the right people, and I just stuck to the courage of my convictions for a while. So you kind of have to. And honestly, if it didn't happen, I probably, or it wasn't going to be made the way I wanted it to be, I would have gone and written a script I could make for $300,000. I would have just done that, because doing a great short film is one thing, but people that are looking at you in the industry and deciding if you're worthy of whatever, just making a feature film, just being able to say you directed a feature film, even if it's like, it's okay. They take you so much more seriously. So if I wasn't in this position, I'd be out there writing a film that was makeable with like 2 people in a room that I knew I could do, or just like one guy in a mirror and maybe a psychological thriller. Kofi, what do you use one in the second one? Two guys in the mirror.
Hi, my name is Ty Barry, and my question is, you said you had this idea like back in 2009. So obviously from there to when you started actually filming and it comes to fruition, you're growing, getting different ideas. Did you ever have any other ideas for any other projects that you felt like you should focus on more than this one?
No.
So sad.
This was it. It was like all or nothing, basically. I had no plan B really. As far as like, oh, if I don't figure it kicks out, I have like another feature in the back of my head somewhere. This was it. I mean, I felt like this was true to my voice and what I wanted to say, and that was personal to me, and I'm set in the city that was a character to me that I knew. So
sorry, I have a follow-up question. Sorry, what was the creative team behind you from the beginning, from when you first started doing that? What were the people with you like?
Yeah, actually, well, I would say the most valuable thing coming out of film school was also just finding your collaborators and like finding those people that you want to continue working with forever, because it might turn out to be forever. The guy who, one of the producers and the guy I write with, he produced my first short film at AFI. It was terrible, but we got along great, and we started writing together immediately after. I made about 4 shorts with him before I made the one that won the Student Academy Award and all that. So they're all a bit terrible. And like I said, the production designer went to AFI, editors went to AFI, so it still kept it in the family.
Thank you.
Wow. Collectively and individually, you guys created a crushing poignancy and a beautiful theme of the panacea of humanity. It was so riveting that you recognized the characters, others you didn't know their backstory, but you wondered what brought them to that point. To me, it was so authentic because what it kept on the preface was that you're always asking yourself about your characters, the other characters, about are they going to give up their total humanity? And that's what was so riveting about us. You had that voice. And so a poem I wrote a while back, I'm in the arts too, but I said, you all know that I'm different. You know it all the time. You has to know I'm different, even if you was deaf, dumb, and blind. So the idea is everyone be seen as distinctive, as unique, as somebody who means something to this world. So what is it you guys would like for the viewing audience worldwide when it gets released and so forth to take with them in terms of the concomitants of the traditional realm of what quote-unquote masculinity is supposed to mean, and then the progressive realm of what the evolving sense of masculinity it can become and mean, combined with the camaraderie and the support of brotherhood and the mutual approbability of sisterhood and respecting our women.
Can you just say that after? Yeah, well said.
I'm serious because it's so powerful.
Well,
And I'm going to tell everyone to go see it because
That's
the
love.
world is in conflict.
please do.
For me, I would just say I want people to be able to see themselves and the characters and see the people around them to be able to really reflect everything to their lives and just have an open mind because again, you walk past these characters and know about them, hear about them in the news, you already have a prejudiced judgment because of information that's not necessarily true. So I just feel like this film just expands what we like we said, a progressive idea of masculinity. So opens your eyes a little bit. So I just want people to just really watch it objectively and just see, that was in the character and the people around them, the people in the news, just really just kind of tap into the humanity of it and really pay attention to all that. Psychology is a really deep film if you think about it.
I think, just piggyback on you, I was just saying, it was always the intent to, when this goes black, to have a hope everyone would be like, whoa, what the hell? Like, what? And also the point is that this happens every day. That's why that's what I wanted.
That's what hurts.
What was important was that this isn't just going away anytime soon. Hopefully, the three characters have shifted their moral barometer in some direction, and there is some hope that they'll go down a better path by putting down the gun, and not giving his dad the gun, and as maybe bittersweet as that is, I think it's forums like this that are most important to me. I think that as soon as the conversation starts, then you can start pointing out the flawed ways we treat women, then we can start having a discussion about that and how you change it. And for me, hopefully, you can actually now, go and talk to your kids at an early age and literally change that mission in the language you use when talking about being man.
All right, well, I think that's all the time we have for today. I think it's a great way to end it, though.
We're going to be chilling, so
Yeah.
we'll talk afterwards.
Let's get a round of applause.